Okay, we're going over exponentials. So these are a lot harder. So we're going to start from basics here. And we're going to look at something starting from y equals b to the x. We're going to look at something like, let's say y is equal to 5 to the x. So this is what your parent graph looks like. It's going to be a graph that looks like kind of a wire slide, and it hits the y-axis at 0, 1. And there's an asymptote here at the line y equals 0. Okay, so let's look at first example here. Okay, here it is here. Okay, so the reason why it hits 0 here is because if you substitute x into your function here, anything to the power of 0 would be 1. And I'll look at an example of that next. So you just go 0, 1, and it's a graph that's going to slant up like this. And to prove that, all you have to do is really just plug in points for x. It's pretty simple. And we're going to look at our graph here in a minute here. But the reason why anything to the power of 0 is 1 is because of this. This is a proof of it. I just want to show you a quick proof. So 3 to the 2 power is 9, 3 to the 1 power is 3, and 3 to the 0 power is 1. 3 to the negative 1 would be 1/3. And you can always pause this and kind of copy the notes if you want. So let's see what. So let's look at the same numbers, but I'm dividing it by its base. So whenever I divide it by its base, 9 divided by 3 gives you 3, and 3 divided by 3 gives you 1, and 1 divided by 3 gives you 1/3. So if you look at the negative, remember anything to negative power, it goes on the bottom, so it's 1/3. So we've dealt with these exponents before. Okay, so next one. And you can take notes and you can pause the video if you want. So now, remember anything to the power of 0 will be 1, so that's why our graph hits it at 0, 1. Okay. And if x was 2, it would be 4, and it's going to increase exponentially very quickly. Now, you might want to be wondering, why do we have this asymptote? So an asymptote, remember, it's a visible line that your graph never touches. So this graph never it goes to this line, never goes through it. And what's happening is here we have this asymptote, okay? And I want to prove that by showing you, say for example, we had negative 10. All right, so if I substitute negative 10 in here, remember by laws of exponents, you can bring this down to the bottom and get rid of the negative. So 2 to 10 power would be 1024, which is a really small fraction. So it's a really small fraction there. So at negative 10, which is way over here, negative 10, it's going to be a really small fraction. Your graph is going to come really close to this x-axis, but it's never going to touch it. That's why you have like an asymptote there. Okay, so next one here. Okay, so here's a graph. 2 to the x is going to increase exponentially this way. However, if, say for example, you have 1/2 for b, it's going to flip to the other side there. So in our domain, so domains from negative infinity to positive infinity. So if you look at it here, it goes to negative infinity, and it goes to positive infinity that way. Our range is a little bit tricky. It goes from 0 to positive infinity. It doesn't include that 0. So remember, it doesn't include the 0 because it's an asymptote right there. So it doesn't include it. It just goes up to infinity. So the last one, I just want to give you an example. I'm going to put these sliders on Schoology so you can practice with them, so you just get the hang of it. You can just change the numbers. So I added a here, but on the last problem you say, well, why didn't you have the a on the last problem? Well, technically I did. If you add the 1 is kind of like your a here. So 1 times b would just be the same thing. So so the a makes it a little bit trickier. So, and you still have the asymptote. So say for example I make this a negative Well, if it's negative, it's going to flip this thing down like that. So negative is going to flip it down. So what if your b, let's go back to your b, is a fraction? So if b is a fraction here, it's going to actually flip it to the other side. In your a, say for example, it's -1, it's going to what? Flip it down. That should be a negative right there. A negative, so a negative right here is going to flip it down. So there should be a negative right there. Okay.